G'day folks, today we're going to be taking a look at the new DJI Ronin SC. This was launched last week by DJI. This is an updated version of the Ronin S. Now this one is designed for smaller mirrorless cameras. If you have a larger camera with a larger lens, you're best to stick to the Ronin S. In this video we're just going to take a quick look at it, kind of give you my first impressions of it. We're going to be using a Canon M50 in it, so let's just jump right in and take a closer look. This isn't so much a review video, so if you're looking for a full review, this is not the video for you. I probably will be doing a full review once I've had a good amount of time to use it. This is more of a first impressions video. Let's just open it up here and we'll take a look at what all comes inside. So everything comes in a nicely organized case. Now I should mention that this comes in two different versions. This is the basic version, which means it doesn't have the follow focus wheel. They do sell it in a version with the follow focus wheel. I opted for this version because it's probably something that I wouldn't make use of. Now, if you decide to go with the basic version, you can purchase the follow focus equipment separately, so you can add it down the road. So first off here, we have our user manual and all the information about the Ronin SC. We have a tripod. This here is a camera riser. Not all cameras will need this, so we'll get into that a little bit later on in this video. Here is our quick release plate, and this is something new that they've added to the Ronin SC that the Ronin S didn't have. Basically with this little knob here, you can set a marker, so once you've balanced your camera, you can lock that in, and that way when you go to mount your camera the second time, it's already in the correct position. You don't have to rebalance it. So that's kind of a nice little addition. This little part here is a lens support. Again, not all cameras will need it. The camera that I'm going to be mounting in there, the M50, I've just got the stock lens on it, and I probably won't need that. We have some cabling here. Here is a longer USB-A to USB-C. And then we have some shorter cables. These ones all have a right angle on them. We have USB-C to USB-C and USB-C to micro USB. This little part here is a converter, USB-C to micro USB. I'll set that aside there. We have the handle here. The battery inside the handle is rated for about 11 hours. This here is new with the Ronin SC. This is a cell phone mount. This can be connected to the side of your Ronin SC just as a monitor, or you can remove this adapter here, and that can connect into the hot shoe of your camera. One of the new features of the Ronin SC is Active Track. So you can actually mount your smartphone in here, mount this on your camera. The phone then does the tracking and moves the gimbal accordingly. So that's a really nice new feature of the Ronin SC. Then we have here a bag of parts. It's got some different screws, some Allen wrenches, and different things that we'll need. And then of course we've got the main body of the Ronin SC gimbal. So we got all the parts here, so we're going to put it together now. First thing we're going to do is take our tripod and screw it into the bottom. So we're just going to screw that into the 1/4-20, make sure it's in there nice and snug. We'll open it up. Then we're going to take the main body of the gimbal and slide it into the handle. Make sure your lock lever is towards the joystick there. And then we're just going to slide it in, and then we're going to lock it in. There's a lot of upgrades with the Ronin SC. Not only is it much lighter and easier to carry around, it has a couple of unique features. First of all, we talked about Active Track, which is new on the Ronin SC. It also has a feature where you can use your smartphone to control the gimbal just by the movements. It uses the gyroscope in your phone to move the gimbal around, and we're going to take a look at that here later on in the video. Another nice new feature is that you can lock every single motor, and that makes transport a lot easier. If you're doing a bit of filming and then you stop for a bit, you can carry this around and you don't have to worry about this all flopping around. It also makes packing it in your camera bag a little easier. So I'd mentioned earlier in the video that if you order the basic version and you didn't get the focus wheel with it, these are the ports in which you can plug your focus wheel in if you order them later. I'll show you how to take the cover off, because that's also how we can use this smartphone mount. We're going to use the smaller Allen key that came with the unit, and at this point you just have to decide which side you want it on. You can have your focus wheel or the cell phone mount on either side of the unit. I'm going to do it on this side here, so what we're going to do is just take those bolts out. You can see this whole plate comes right off. Make sure you don't lose those screws. Now you can see when I took the plate off, it has this port here now. So that's where we would attach the focus wheel. But you can see here, that's also how we attach our smartphone mount. It just goes in there like that. So we're just going to take this piece for now. For now, we're going to have to unscrew it here just for a minute, just so we can put this new plate on. So this plate, we're now going to screw into this spot right here. We're going to take the larger Allen wrench and tighten them in. Now we can reattach this part here. And there we go. Now we can slide our smartphone mount back in, tighten it in. You can angle it to whatever angle you need. And this part here spins around depending whether you want your phone in there as a landscape or portrait mode. So if you're like me and you ordered the basic kit and you decide that you want your smartphone mount on there on the side, you can still add the focus wheel on this side. You would just have to take the plate off, the same as what we did for the smartphone mount, and then we would just screw it in. And you would have both on there. We need to mount our camera and balance it. Balancing it can be a little tricky, especially if this is your first gimbal. It can take some time and some playing around. I'm going to pause the video while I balance mine, just not to make this video too long. If you're interested, let me know down in the comments and maybe I'll make a separate video on how to balance a camera in the Ronin SC. So we've gone ahead, everything is balanced now. I charged the batteries up, and when I mounted the M50, I didn't use the riser that comes with it. The riser is typically for smaller DSLR cameras, or if you have a DSLR that has a very large lens and you need to lift the camera up. Now, one nice thing I did notice when balancing this gimbal, having these locks on here does make things a little bit easier because you can lock each individual rotation and set your balance. Now, a couple other balancing tips if this is going to be your first gimbal. When you place your camera on there, make sure you have your battery installed and the memory card. Now, in case of the M50, this lens kind of retracts into itself for transportation. Before you film, you got to pull it out like that. And so make sure any kind of lenses in that kind of situation are fully extended. If there's any kind of filters that you're going to be mounting on your lens, make sure they're on there. And if you have a sun hood that you're going to be using, all that is very important to have on before you balance it. Now, if this is your first gimbal and you don't have the Ronin app, I'd go ahead and download it. And just like all DJI products, you're going to have to use the app to activate it. I'm going to power on the gimbal here. Once you've launched the app, there's a lot of different things you can do. You can set your motor parameters, you can do an auto tune, and that's a good idea to do if it's a brand new first time you've mounted a camera in there. If we go to user profile, here we can set all our parameters. We have 3 different modes that we can customize. We have mode 1, 2, and 3, but the fun stuff is when you hit the create button. From here we can do all kinds of interesting things. We can have a virtual joystick. So you can see here we can move the camera any direction that we want. So that's really handy if you're wanting to set up a remote camera setup. And beside that is the new active track. Now, I'm not going to do any kind of active track testing in this video. I'm going to save that for a separate video. Active track is that new feature where you would mount your smartphone on top of the camera and you would use the camera to process the active tracking. And the other new feature we have is Force Mobile. So if we click that on, we turn it on there. And as you can see, I can control the camera just by moving my smartphone. It uses the gyroscope within the phone to mimic the movements on the camera. From what I've been reading, this Force Mobile is available only on iOS devices. So correct me if I'm wrong, I don't own an Android to test. Now that may come with a firmware update. And below that we have panorama, time-lapse, motion lapse, and motion control. So I'm just going to head out now and get some footage with the new Ronin SC and the Canon M50. There you go, folks. There's a little bit of quick footage with the Ronin SC and the Canon M50. Like I stated at the beginning of this video, this is more of a first impressions. I might kind of do a more in-depth review later on down the road. Now, I can't really compare it to the original Ronin S because I never owned it, but I can definitely see how some of the complaints of the original of it being too heavy is true. Even I found this one to be a little bit taxing at times carrying it around. This one here is 40% lighter, but I could definitely feel it after carrying it for a couple hours. For me, I'm used to filming on devices like this. This is the Hero 7 Black with the iSteady Pro 2. I'll be reviewing this next, so keep an eye out for that. If you're coming from a smaller gimbal or no gimbal at all, definitely there is a little bit of a learning curve and some getting used to. It is really nice with the Ronin S and the Ronin SC that they do break down very quickly, so storing it in a backpack or something like that isn't too much of an issue. Quite often when I'm out hiking, I use a GoPro Seeker backpack. This was able to fit inside the main cavity with the camera mounted with no issue. The original Ronin S I don't think would have fit because it is a little bit taller. The other nice thing I want to show you here, the gimbal itself will fit back into the case when it's balanced. And that's kind of a nice bonus with this setup. A lot of gimbals, once you've balanced them and you've adjusted the arms, it will no longer fit back into the case. And the amount of time it takes to balance these things, it's not something you want to be doing out in the field every time you want to pack up your gimbal. So definitely that's a bonus feature. So yeah, folks, that is the Ronin SC. I'm pretty happy with it. Just like most DJI products, with the exception of a few things, it has a really nice build quality. It just feels like a premium device. It really does feel and look professional. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them down in the comments. I will answer them the best I can. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and found it had value. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.